Hi and welcome along to another episode of the Wedding Band Show. Hopefully you're doing well on this Monday morning. It's a bit miserable outside. So with this, Wedding Band Show has gone live. Just checking in on all the wedding suppliers, seeing how everybody's getting on. And today we're going to Videography Land and we've got Jason Nolan on the line. So Jason, how are you?
Hey Brian, I'm good, thanks.
That's good. How are you keeping? Kids back to school this morning?
Yeah, it's a good day. I know. It's that's the good thing about lockdown too. At least the kids are back at school for them and for the parents.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. How many kids have you now? Is it two?
Three.
Three kids. Oh, right. Yeah. So you're saw your relief this morning. So are they all in school actually?
Yeah, there's three different schools. So we've got secondary school, primary school, and creche. So
something like ourselves, secondary, primary, and play school. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all go in the mornings, but once you come back after the school run, it's that lovely time you can just chillax and do your work.
Well, our first pickup actually, 3 days a week is 12:30, so you don't get much of a chance. You get a couple of hours. It's not too bad.
It's amazing how productive you become to get that, from like 9 until, for me, it's until 2:20.
Yeah.
Although since lockdown 2, my fiance, she's off too, so that's helped in that regard as well.
Has she roped you into like DIY jobs and stuff like that? No, like my house.
Not really. I think she'd be afraid to get me to do these things because
okay, right.
Walls would start falling off, and
Yeah. So how, I suppose, in general, Jason Nolan wedding films, how has the whole 2020 COVID thing affected you overall?
Yeah, well, it certainly took the weddings out of the Jason Nolan films, wedding films. It's been a big hit, really. I think, like, normally I would be doing, about 55, 54 weddings, and that's been consistent for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And this year, I think I have done 5. I'm not sure yet. It's so the wedding side of the business has is on pause essentially, apart from a few here or there.
Yeah. Have you done any weddings under the restrictions?
Yeah, I did 2. So I did one. Well, I did 3 actually, but that was one of them was for shooting for somebody else. One of the weddings I did was when it was 50, and it was actually one of the best weddings I've ever done.
Yeah.
It was just a really lovely personal wedding. They had the ceremony was in their living room in their house.
Okay. Yeah.
The celebrant was their auntie.
Oh, right. Good.
They had a marquee in the garden, or in their kind of estate garden, and all the neighbors, were coming in, and it was just really nice and so relaxed. We didn't have to rush around or anything. So it was a beautiful day. It was my first wedding in months, and I managed to drop a camera on the floor and get my drone stuck in a tree. So there was that, but
you were out of practice as well.
I'm straight into a tree. It was never crashed. That was my first crash, and it was just
that's 20.
And then I did one. And then I did another church wedding in Ahagaur, and that was 50 as well. So that was fine as well. I think 50. We were just coming around to the 50, the 50 max, and people were adapting to it, and people, the couples who chose to get married, they could have a lovely wedding, but now with the next raft of restrictions, I just lost the few weddings I had in the end of October and November. Hopefully.
I was talking about that to Ronnie Dignan there on Saturday night, and we were saying like 50 is actually nice. 25 is a little bit short, guest numbers.
It is.
Because you're always going to, there's going to be at least 5 probably outside, or, so you're really looking at 15, 20 in the room, but 50, we had 2 at the 50 as well, and they were great nights. We really enjoyed it. Like you said, a bit more intimate kind of family. One of them was a little marquee at the house, and it was lovely. I don't think 50 is a problem at all.
No, like the other part of it, we were going to get married ourselves this year. So, you know, I'm both the supplier and we're also kind of an affected couple in a way.
Were you shouting for deposits back?
I was lucky enough. We timed it well in that we had planned on being married, on getting married this year, but we actually postponed it ourselves at Christmas because you know we had other things that we wanted to get done first. So we got really lucky in that regard. But when we wanted a small wedding anyway, and even just looking at your immediate family, your friends, your small circle, we got to 50 really quickly. Because I was looking at, we were going to go abroad, so we were looking at, you know, renting a place for a week, and so I was kind of thinking, like, you know, there'll be maybe 20, 30 people, but as soon as you start adding it up, it very quickly gets to 50, and that's just your, you know, brothers, sisters, their children, you know, your parents, and you know, your friends. You know,
well, that's it. I suppose, like, it's okay if you're from a smaller family. But like if you have, I don't know, if you have 4 or 5 brothers and sisters, and then your fiance has 3 or 4 as well, like straight away, then, you know, like 50 is about the minimum you can do. You know. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
But I don't think there's many weddings happening at the 25, is there? Or have you had any that moved when it dropped from the 50 to 25?
Well, a lot of them, I have had a lot of. The ones I had that were kind of thinking about going ahead, they've just rescheduled. My remaining weddings for this year are in December, so there's 5 of them in December, and up until so I guess, you know, those guys are waiting to see. Hopefully, you know, signs are good that we'll have restrictions lifted in December, but we just don't know, you know. So
it would be nice if it even went up to the 50 again. You know?
Yeah, I'd love that, and if they lift those silly restrictions about hair, makeup, and live music, that's you know, it's almost like, you know, the skeptical side of me thinks that they're allowing weddings, but they're making it very difficult to have a wedding, so that the general public will think, oh, it's okay.
Yeah, you're allowed. It's that thing where, well, we're not stopping you getting married, but they really are, in a way, you know, in a roundabout way.
It's like a constructive dismissal. You know, the boss doesn't fire you, but makes your work so difficult that you just leave. So it's something along those lines. No, hopefully, the live music thing as well. You know, like if you've got 25 or 50 people in a room, and you know, the difference between that and them being around each other all day, or dancing a little bit on a dance floor and having a first dance, like, what, you know, what's the big deal there, really, when you think about it? Yeah, I mean, a wedding is a celebration. You know, there's plenty of formal events that you can go to, you know, have a dinner and a ceremony and dinner, but a wedding at its core is a celebration, and you know, it's been like that for hundreds and thousands of years. And it's, you know, to take that aspect away is really, like, the first dance is a fundamental. I mean, we know from you know, from myself, you know, you've got key moments you've got in the wedding, and you know, the vows being one, the first dance being the other. These are key moments, and to take that away from couples, I think, is just unfair.
But then, I suppose, all of that aside, you've moved into live streaming. Has that happened? Was that on the cards anyway, or was it kind of COVID just gave you a push in that direction?
I'd had some experience with it because, and I've worked with another man on a couple of weddings of my own where they'd asked me for live streaming. You know, they had elderly grandparents that couldn't make the wedding. There was usually family abroad, so I'd seen it done, and it was something that I had an interest in, and when COVID came, it was kind of a no-brainer to me to think this should be, this is going to be something that I'm going to need to do, and you know, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. So I did a lot of research. Whatever money I had, I spent quite a bit on equipment, I know you can do it simpler, but like everything, I do things overkill, and it's been a nice little side, and it's cool just to have something to get you out of the house and do a bit of work, because you know yourself,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you get cabin fever when you're not going out working. So and I've done some really enjoyable things. Like I worked with John Murphy. He's another videographer,
Yeah.
and we live streamed a few GAA matches,
Yeah.
and it was brilliant because John was shooting, I was sitting behind a desk pressing buttons, and we had a commentator fed in as well. So it was like this little production team, and people loved it, and everybody said it was really good. So yeah, I enjoyed
Yeah.
that.
I did a few of those back in the day too, and it is nice, a part of a team. I suppose it's different,
Yeah.
for the little productions like that. And then, yeah, like, for me, live streaming a wedding seems like a complete headache. Like, there's a lot
Yeah,
that goes into it.
absolutely. A wedding is the hardest thing to live stream because, as you know yourself, with a wedding, you need angle. You have to have a camera going that way. You've got to have one going this way. You need to be discreet. You can't have wires everywhere. It's the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And even little things like I live streamed a wedding in October, and I couldn't get into the church until I think I had half an hour set up. So it was a really tight,
Oh,
to get in there, because the church had to be sanitized and it was just locked. I was sitting outside the church for an hour and a half. And then the musicians and myself had to kind of scramble in and find a spot and get everything ready. And it was a bit of stress, but it worked out well in the end.
Yeah. How does it work for coverage then? Like, like if a couple are thinking about live streaming a wedding, what do you tell them? Like, does it have to have kind of 4G coverage in the area, or how does all that work? Do you do a site inspection type thing before you?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I had invested in is I have a system where I can bond together up to 4 different connections. So usually I would have 2 Vodafone routers going and 3 routers going.
Yeah.
And that way, if any one of them goes down, which they do quite frequently, you're covered. Like, one of the things that can happen quite frequently when you're live streaming a wedding is many times some of the friends may be outside the church and everybody will start tuning into your live stream. So it's your signal is really good, and then right at the beginning everyone starts tuning in and suddenly it drops. So that's why, at least when you have the fallback of the other the system, it does add complexity and it does add time, but so far it's been bulletproof, and that's that's people are paying me for service. It has to be right. So,
and then are you live streaming kind of one wide camera at the back, or are all your cameras kind of connected to a switcher, or what kind of way do you do it?
Yeah, everything's connected to a switcher. So I set it up similar to how I would shoot a wedding. So I have a camera on the kind of the couple and the kind of family in the pews, and then I have another camera at the readers, and I can adjust them. I can adjust a camera. So it's a little bit of a hybrid, and that's one of the things I do. So it's not just, because a static wide camera is fine, but it's kind of boring, So
very, very boring.
You want to have, like we do with video. We don't film a wedding and come in with a static wide camera and that's it. We try and mix it up a bit. So that's what I try and do anyway. And it is a little bit more difficult because you're not as free to move around, and you may have to shoot a little bit wider. So it's obviously you're never going to have the same end result as a polished wedding video.
No.
But the beauty of the hybrid approach is it's possible to have both, where you can have the live stream, everything's recorded, and then it can be edited after the fact if you want as well.
Yeah. So even though you're streaming on a camera, you're recording to the SD card, and then after you've seen the footage. Yeah. That's and has that become, is it popular so far since you launched it, or how are you finding things? Are couples
Yeah, well,
looking for
I
that?
don't just do weddings. One of the things that I've done the most of is, and something I never thought I would be doing, but I have been doing, is streaming funerals.
Okay,
And
yeah.
it sounds, I suppose,
They'd be usually last minute bookings, so wouldn't they?
very last minute. I could get a call today
Your
for
diary is
tomorrow.
full next year for funerals. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying my best. I'm taking live stream jobs and the short term. I don't want to commit myself to, at the end of the day, I want to be shooting weddings. I want to be
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
what I do. So I don't want to book too far out next year.
Yeah.
Like I do have people, and if I'd rather shoot the wedding and outsource the live streaming to someone who I know and trust. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but no, I mean, even funerals, it's people are so grateful. Like after a stream, I often get emails from people abroad thanking me for the stream and for them being able to watch their friend's funeral, and it's it might have seemed morbid at first to do something and intrusive, but people are so thankful, and it's it's probably a nice little comfort for people who are, especially people who are abroad, who just can't make it at all.
Even even in a post-COVID world, live streaming a funeral, you'd imagine, would be a nice thing to be able to do and for people to get, because like that, funerals happen 3, 4, 5 days notice, so people can't always get home, especially if they're in Australia and stuff. So I think it would be, I think live streaming funerals will be nice for people that can't be there. What are you finding trend in the wedding world then is, are people looking at 22, 23?
At the moment, every time there's a change, like in restrictions, there's always that's followed by like a week of just no activity. But 2022 inquiries are coming in. They're still not as high as they would have been, this time last year. But and I was getting a few 2021 inquiries up until we hit level 5, but since level 5, I find it's 2022 that the latest inquiries are coming in, which is understandable as well.
Yeah, I'd say there's still a lot of people on the fence, and maybe if things open up in January, there could be an influx all of a sudden of weddings for 22.
Absolutely,
yeah. Hopefully,
and I think it comes down to, like, speaking to the couples, it comes down to where they're at with their life plan, because most people who are getting married, the wedding isn't the only thing they're doing. They could be, trying to buy a house. They could be, planning a family, having babies. Now we've done things, we've had the babies and all that stuff, so.
You went completely backwards. Yeah.
Backwards, yeah. But I know a lot of people, they have this, the wedding is part of a longer term plan. And as one groom said to me, we're not going to put our lives on hold for years, because of the wedding.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah.
So some couples will just say, look, let's just get it done. We want to get it, or there might be reasons. Maybe their parents might be, they don't want to hold people up. So I think it comes down to the couple, whether they want to just do it with restrictions or wait, until they're lifted, which hopefully won't be that long away in the future.
Yeah. What advice would you have for any couples, say, that have their weddings planned within the next 6 months? Maybe up to March, April, May. What would you be telling them? They're probably a bit worried.
It's still a long time. Think about how things changed. Like, think of February this year and how things changed in 1 month. And this pandemic could end as quickly as it came in, or it could. So nobody knows. So I would say there's no need to make a decision right now. I don't think there's a huge. Well, I'm speaking for myself. There's no huge pressure to book up a supplier for 2022, as long as you're flexible on your dates, which you are, because you've rescheduled already. Then you will find a date. So I would say, if you don't mind, you can wait, hang on and see what happens. things may change, like, as I said, very quickly. And don't be worried about leaving things until, the last minute to make a decision, because, you'll always find that you can, find a date that suits suppliers. We're so used to dealing with this now that, we're good at working with couples and hotels and, getting a date that suits everybody. So.
Yeah, I think, and like you said there, the important thing is just talk to your suppliers as well. So if you are worried or on the fence, just reach out to everybody, and like that, we're used to it at this stage, moving dates and plan Bs and diaries and stuff like that. You will find dates once you're flexible. You always will. I think,
if you, like, one of the issues that arose with the first round of reschedules was, if you don't pick your date first, like if you have a list of suppliers that you want to keep, then check in with them and say, look, we're thinking about moving our date. When are you available?
Yeah.
And get a list off every supplier, and then you can say, well, look, this suits, as many as we can, and
or even if they want a Saturday in July, August, September, just say, look, we're looking at Saturdays in these months or Fridays in these months, and and then get it from everybody and work it out from there then.
Yeah.
And you will, you're going to, you might lose one or two suppliers doing it that way, but if you pick a date first, you could lose all your suppliers and you'd be back to square one then.
Yeah, and most of us will have a network of other suppliers that we would recommend.
Yeah.
And actually what I've been doing, with a few other people is offering to, instead of, if I'm not available for a date, I can get somebody who I know to shoot the wedding for me, and I will edit it, and that way it's more keeping with kind of my style, which is a lot,
which is what they wanted, So they're not, they may be losing me shooting, but they're not losing, the style of the editing and how I do that, which I think the way I shoot, that lends itself to that, because I shoot quite cleanly. I don't do a lot of, I suppose I'm quite classical in the way I shoot and edit. So with another shooter's footage, I can edit according to my style as well. And that's also less hassle for the couple, because they don't have to, change to a different supplier. Yeah.
So that's something, I know that doesn't suit everybody, but that's something that I've been doing.
Yeah. And that's a good point, actually. When you think about it, a lot of the video style is from the editing side, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
more so than photography, I think.
Yeah, like everybody, you kind of hold the camera on the bride during the vows or whatever. They're kind of standard, but then it's the way you chop it up and how you manipulate the footage after that really gives the style. So if they have booked you and they like your style and you're still going to edit the video, it's going to be very, very close to what they would have got with you anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I've shot 4 other videographers, and some of them with very different styles, but and I asked them that. I said, do you want me to shoot in a different way? And she's just said, no, just do your thing. We'll make it our own.
Yeah.
And they did, which was great. So, because it was Edit House in Dublin, and they're really cool. They're really kind of funky, fast paced stuff. And, the way they chop in clips, it's, once you've shot it well, and, hopefully I did, then it's, hopefully they can do their own thing with it. So that's, whereas photography is a little bit different. The style is a lot in the shots and the posing and the
lighting and stuff. Yeah.
So you can always tell certain photographers, by the type of shots they do, whether it's the kind of. You
came from a photography background, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you do much of that now these days, or?
No. Most videographers, I think, are failed photographers. But when I started, I really wanted to do photography, and I put everything into my photography brand and website, which is terrible. It was terrible. And video, You can still find it.
Do you ever use that? I forget the name of it now. The website Time Machine. There's like
Well, I think I left it up for years anyway, just for SEO purposes, because I had links to my video site, but it just dropped out, and I had it up on Google as well. But and it was a site I created from scratch. It was coded like HTML, CSS.
Okay, right, yeah.
So it was horrific, obviously. So since then I've moved to Squarespace, but that just didn't work out, and it was like at the time. That was around the time that Kieran Dignan was top of it. You know, he was a kind of new kid on the block, and he was just amazing. And you know, I just thought, wow, this guy is a million times better than I am, which he is and was, obviously. But video was an afterthought, because I didn't like video, because I'd shot a few wedding videos with a photographer for him, and I was using his camera, and it was one of the, obviously a video camera, and
the old school,
the way people reacted to me, it was, I always felt like, people are very shy in front of the camera. I found it difficult and not an enjoyable experience. But the funny thing, what started to happen is that people started to like the videos really that I was doing, and they started to want to book. They wanted to book the video. They wanted to book me and not the other guy, the photographer.
Right.
I hope he's not watching. I won't mention any names. And then he didn't pay me very well, so we kind of had a fallout over money. So I got a bit mad one day and said, you know what? I'm just going to set up a video website. I threw up a free template, put the samples up, and almost immediately started getting booked. So,
what year was this then?
That was 2014, May 2014.
Okay.
And in 2015, I had 54 weddings. It was a crazy start, and ever since then, it's just been full calendar up until this year.
And then I suppose if you had a choice tomorrow to be a photographer or a videographer for a wedding, which one would you pick?
Videographer, without shadow of a doubt.
Yeah,
it suits my personality, because I don't have the right personality to be a photographer.
Yeah,
I don't want to say
I could never. Yeah, I don't have an ego. No, I could never. No, I could never. Like guys like Richard and stuff like that. You'd see them working at weddings, and I don't know. I prefer to be in the background with the camera.
Absolutely. It's I prefer, and that's my personality. That's my style, and I think many videographers we're a bit more technical, and we prefer to sit at our desks and just clicking buttons.
Introverted,
yeah, exactly. Photographers are extroverted. Like we've all I try sometimes to do some direction, and it's it's funny because I'll always get a slagging off. If I know the photographer, they'll always kind of jump in and help me and save me, because they'll just see like the sweat start. I just I'm not good at that. So
any looking back, I suppose not over yet, but any positives that come out of 2020 for you?
Oh yeah, loads. I try to be positive, or try to put a positive spin on everything. So one of the biggest things, obviously, was clearing the backlog.
Yeah.
Ever since I started in video, I've always had a wedding to edit, or 10 weddings, in the peak times, and it's always that pressure to keep going. So when I being able to take that time now is lovely, and not to feel like under pressure to that you have so many weddings, kind of, because they are still seasonal and they cramp together the edits, and the pressure then up to Christmas. So not having that is really nice. I often felt that I'd love some time to work on other projects that I never had chance to do. Like I launched the corporate brand that was always in the back of my mind, and now that has its thing, that has its website.
Is that Wild Castle? Is it?
Wild Castle Studios.
Yeah.
I went with a kind of a castle theme because I'm from Castlebar.
Okay.
So, but I wanted I think I wanted something else, but I couldn't get the URL. But Yeah, so Wild Castle Studios is the long term idea with that is that's going to be the kind of umbrella of Wild Castle, the Castle streaming, the
Everything will fall under that. Yeah.
yeah, and that in time, as I get older, and that I can actually start to do maybe a separate wedding brand within Wild Castle Weddings, where I'm actually people are shooting for me, and that's more of a long-term solution, but
well, I suppose this break has given you a chance to kind of reevaluate all that, and
absolutely
kind of get clear with your thoughts on what the future is. Whereas before, like you said, if you're just editing videos every day, you don't really get a chance to think about the future, or similar to myself. I've done a few projects that I never would have got a chance to do, and I wasn't even full-time editing like you. Like, I still had my week, but I found that if you're gigging Friday, Saturday, and maybe Thursday or Sunday every now and again, and your weekends are gone, and then you've got the kids as well during the week and all that kind of school and stuff.
Of course,
you don't have much time. So no, I'm kind of enjoying the break as well, to be honest. I feel bad.
Yeah,
I feel bad.
I know, but the way I see it as well is that 2020 is financially it's a bad year, and like it's not that bad either. It's not as bad as I'm sure other people are going through way worse situations.
Definitely,
my income is down, of course it is, but it's not. I can still pay my bills. I can still, we're nothing's much changed, even for the kids, and that they don't see anything. That's the most important thing.
Same here. Yeah.
It's maybe Santa will be a little bit more prudent this year, but
well, he's been cut too, hasn't he?
He has. I think,
health and safety and all the COVID regulations for the elves.
He's limited on what he can carry, and social distancing in the workshop has had its impact. Yeah. So there's that. But I think in the long term, the way I see it is that, let's say this year you've lost, X amount of your income, fine, but what you do this year might actually make up for that over time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
By working on a corporate brand, other projects, and they may fail, but at least you tried them, and that's the main thing. I think, and anybody who's in business knows that, like photography for me, that's what I wanted to do. It failed. Video worked. Actually, before that, I was doing web design. That failed. Graphic design. That failed. I was doing kind of IT stuff as well. So there was lots of things that didn't work, and then one did work.
But elements of all those, if you want to call them failures, have helped you become where you are today.
Exactly. And some of those things, like even the web design, that's coming back now, because I'm able to now create these websites for myself, for my own business. So it's so in the long term, it might mean, I might be able to achieve the goals that I've always had, which is maybe to do a mixture of, we'll say, instead of doing 50, 60 weddings, do 30 weddings, do some corporate work, do some other, diversify. And then that's, it's nice to be able to do different. It's interesting to do something different from time to time as well. So,
it is. Yeah. Well, life is short. So, and it's easy to get caught in the 50, 60 weddings kind of cycle every year. And you wonder, you look back and go, what was it all for? If you didn't get a chance to do the things that you really want to do.
Yeah. And even for just weddings, it's very hard to keep that level of creativity up when you're doing a lot of weddings. And this time has allowed me to take a step back and look at the weddings, look at the way I do things, and improve on that. So, once, now that I'm, I hopefully improving and, giving me time to improve my style, and we'll hopefully see the benefits of that when I actually shoot some weddings,
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, one of the American videography podcasts, and he was saying how he only does 15 weddings a year. And I was thinking, God, that's low. 15, I was adding up in my head. But then it transpired he charges $10,000 a wedding.
Yeah,
video.
well, there's
Yeah,
that
so that's
too,
that's okay. Yeah, if we could get maybe if you started charging that, Jason, 10,000 a wedding, you'd do 15 a year.
I know, but then
You'd be
think about
happier.
those people. Which I've had this conversation with other videographers that there's a lot of people who are in pursuit of the quote high end market,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
does that come with what type of people are those people? I mean, are you going to have increased headaches? Maybe not. Maybe not.
I'd imagine. Well, there might be a few that would be the same, but I'd imagine if a couple were paying 5 to 10,000 euro for a wedding video, there's more headaches on the videographer.
Yeah,
they're looking for a different production.
Yeah, and I think that's the word. I think it's maybe it's a production. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I know. I mean, I do have talked to guys who are at the high end. Richard Lang, Michael Toman, and they're both down to earth, lovely guys. And from their stories of the weddings, they're just kind of rich people who are nice. So
yeah.
It's probably until you've done it. I think there probably are just normal weddings, just with people with lots of money. Although I did shoot a promo for the DJ Tommy Elliott.
Oh yeah.
And it was in Ashford Castle, and this wedding was on Vogue magazine. It was a high end wedding, and they had a marquee. The funny thing was they booked Ashford Castle, but they had the reception in a marquee outside, which I kind of thought was funny. But they had like a drum show, then they had a live band, and then they had the DJ. They had a guy doing the light show. Like there was this gigantic disco ball, and there was lights beaming off it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But I thought everybody was floating because they were so rich. Did you ever get that? Where they were just floating through, and it just felt strange. But they were having a great time, and the dance floor was jammers, and it was a great wedding. But funnily enough, they didn't like the band. They brought this band in from the UK, and the brides didn't like the band, and at the interval told them, "That's it. Sorry, we're going to have the DJ now."
Ooh.
So.
And
I
without naming without naming the band, would you agree with the bride?
No, I was watching this band. This band was fantastic. I mean, maybe it was just it wasn't their taste, but these guys were, there was loads of them. There was guys with double basses. It was a real, I don't know what the term is, but I thought it was brilliant, and it sounded great to me. So
people were dancing, and
yeah. There was nothing wrong with it. We were all shocked, and Tommy was shocked as well. And really, can you imagine how nervous Tommy felt then?
There's a bit of pressure, There's a bit of pressure. The floor is full. The band are told they're not good enough. You're up next. You're up next, buddy.
Oh, yeah. So, but they loved what he did as well. So that was great. But again, that band were probably really expensive, really high end.
Yeah.
But they got told to go home. I mean, that's not going to happen in the Broadhaven Bay, or what I would, a normal wedding with
a regular,
people, like us, like just.
Well, so far, Touchwood, as a band, we've never been told to stop early. But that wouldn't be nice.
You've had videographers staring at you saying, "When are these lads?"
Oh, to start early, but not stop.
Not you, Brian. But that's actually funny, because it's one of the things of the pandemic that we often joke about. What would we keep? And the early first dance is definitely something.
Definitely.
And we keep that bit.
The 11:30 finish time. On the two we had, one of them actually finished at 11. I don't know. I'd love to keep that. Now maybe even if it went
started early.
Even if it went to 12 or half 12, but like I've had discos where I didn't finish till quarter. Well, the latest ever was 3:45, but that was a bit of a regular one. But usually it's 2:30 now, or it was, which is very late. It is very late, but that's. I feel like I have to go to 2:30 because generally the first dance is later these days, and through no fault of anyone, but by the time we get into the room, it's can be like 9:30, even to start
Of
setting
course,
up,
yeah.
you know. So then you just feel like you have to, you know, keep going. But 2:30 is very late. You know, I'd
Yeah.
love if weddings came forward and, you know, we were getting in the room earlier as a band and first dances were back to even 8:30, 9:00. You know, it'd be great. You know.
And you know what? Like, a good friend of mine made this point, and I thought this was very early on in the pandemic, and he said that what this pandemic will do is it will reassess what we think about things like weddings. And you know, I suppose we were all, you know, working over the last few years, and you could have said that weddings, they were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there was more and more stuff being put into a wedding, and sometimes it felt like you were rushing and racing with the couple from 10 o'clock in the morning up until 10 o'clock at night time, and they never got a chance to enjoy their wedding. And I think that, you know, that was for me when I was, you know, thinking about my own wedding, and we were thinking about my own wedding. I didn't want that. I wanted to enjoy my wedding and do things a little bit different. Things like do a first look where you can have your photo shoot before the ceremony, have your ceremony, and then just go straight into your reception. I love that concept. I know it's an American thing, and I know it's not as traditional, but I think it's really cool.
I've been part of a few of them as well, and I think they're the best thing ever. And one of them, the photographer had all the shots with the bride and groom and the bridal party and all that kind of thing, all out of the way before the ceremony.
Yeah.
You know, like that. You're exactly right. I find the wedding it's kind of rush all day. And then I find I kind of prefer the civil, because I find in the church everybody's even nervous. So you're adding to that, you know, so the groom is nearly afraid to turn around or, you know, to give the bride a hug or whatever, you know. Everyone's
well, sometimes
nervous.
they're told not. Sometimes they're told not to.
Well,
that's something that I didn't know this at first, but I often thought, why is the groom facing me and, you know, not facing his bride? But apparently, when guys are really nervous, they're told don't look around because you'll get emotional. It's your wedding. Get emotional.
You're allowed to get. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Yeah.
It looks great on camera. Sorry. But yeah, you're allowed to get emotional, and it's lovely. It's your wedding day. If you can't, you know, it's a bit like the doctor. You know, don't look at your new baby. You might get emotional. You know, come on. But yeah, I like. Now look at if people want to do the church thing, because like I did a wedding recently, and the couple were very religious, and that was a huge thing for them. The ceremony was the highlight of their day, because, you know, they were deeply religious. That's, you know, they met through, you know, the connections. Their friends were the priests were their friends, which was great, because they had 3 priests, and, you know, the priests with the reception dancing away and everything. So you know, that side of it can be lovely as well. But I do think then there's, you know, if people are on the fence and they're choosing to go one way because of, you know, they don't want to upset mommy and daddy or somebody, you know. You know, I think there is a bit of a shift towards and there's some really nice, I mean, it doesn't have to be a civil ceremony. You've got the spiritual ceremonies now, which are fantastic. Some of them celebrants are so nice. Like End of Heart. I mean,
it's very relaxed.
Yeah, you know, really relaxed and personal. And I mean, obviously a church wedding can be too, if you've got a priest that you know and that knows you. So it can work.
Well, some, you know, some of the priests are like comedians.
I suppose it's unfair to kind of to put. I mean, like some of the priests. I mean, we all know Father Charlie, for example. You know, Father Judge. You know, Cross Malina. You know, those guys are fantastic, and you know, they make the wedding personal, and I think that's more. It's more so. It's not the setting. It's often the celebrant. So yeah.
Well, hopefully with the whole COVID thing coming out the other side, that it might just bring, I suppose, the true meaning of the wedding back. Where it's not this kind of factory job. Where you need to have so many people, you need to be 250, and you need to, and that the whole, that there's more emphasis maybe on the actual, a nice ceremony early in the day. If the numbers are a bit smaller, I always have a feeling, maybe I could be wrong, that some of the weddings that were, in the 250s, if the couple had their choice, it would have been maybe 100 guests, but they felt they had to ask people, or they had just been at so many weddings out of the village that, that kind of thing. So this, in one way, this is the perfect excuse to kind of rewind all that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true, because a lot of people who want to have, they want to have a smaller weddings, they were actually choosing to go abroad, because
true.
It's normal to have a smaller wedding abroad, whereas to have a smaller wedding in Ireland before COVID was a bit different, even though they were always lovely. And as a supplier, having seen hundreds of weddings, some of the best weddings that I can remember were smaller weddings. They were just more intimate. So I think I think there will be a change. That's one of the changes. I think things are going to go back to basics a bit. I think things are going to be a little bit more seasonal as well, because I think people are going to, I don't know about your inquiries if you notice this, but I think a lot of people looking at 2022 are looking at the summer of 2022.
True.
Because I think that's going to be a factor going forward, that the winter weddings are going to become less popular because of the fear of these things happening again. So certainly if I was choosing a date, I'd be looking at July, or, which isn't great for wedding suppliers, of course, but this is again why there is a need for us to diversify, because it's been shown that when you just do one thing, even if you're doing it well and the business is going well, in the space of a few weeks, then you can go from having a full calendar to having nothing. So
just a comment in here, actually, I'll add this. Colin Kavanagh is wondering, what's our thoughts on weddings going ahead around Christmas? So I'm assuming it's this Christmas you're talking about, Colin. What's your thoughts on that, Jason? Or have you got you said you've a few left for December?
I have 5 couples who have all contacted me, and I've contacted them, and they want to go ahead, and they're at they're at their stage where they want to have their wedding no matter what. They're determined to push through. Hopefully we'll see restrictions being a little bit better for December. I'd love to see it getting back to 50 guests, and I'd love to see live music. Now, behind the scenes, we're sending letters and annoying the arses off our TDs to try and get these things heard. So I would say I love to. Christmas weddings are always special. They're lovely. The feeling around Christmas is lovely. So, but it comes down to you as a couple, and what what where you're at in terms of your life plan. I would say, and if you've got your heart set on a big wedding, then that's not going to happen this December.
Yeah.
But if you want to have a lovely smaller wedding, then by all means go for it. And
I think a wedding this Christmas would actually be extra special then, because of the year that's just passed. And if you have 25 to 50 people having a meal, I'm just thinking, the venues at Christmas, it's kind of nice and cozy, and I think it'd be a lovely night. Now it is looking like it could be my first Christmas properly off since I was about 14. It'll be my first New Year's Eve at home. Since,
what are you now, 17?
No, 18 last year. No, since I started gigging, I think I was about 14, and then every New Year's Eve's always gone. So this is the first one. This is the first one I'll be at home. But my wife is always giving out, you're always gone. So I'm said to her this year, well, I'm going to see what all the fuss is about now. So I'm expecting.
Do You know what it also means, Brian, is that we can't use the excuse of, well, I'm very quiet in January, February.
I know, yeah, I have to, yeah.
If you managed for 8 months, you'll be fine, you know.
This is going to happen for years now, isn't it? If you say you can't take a night off, well, you took a whole year off in 2020, and
yeah.
I'd say, look, Christmas weddings. When is the second lockdown over? Is that over at the first week of December, isn't it? Is that when we're...
Do you know something I don't? Well, they've said that it's, well, the plan is for them to finish at the beginning of December. Now, signs are good. Like, it's been a week and already the cases are dropping, and which has nothing to do with level 5. That was level 3 that's done that. But that's a really positive sign. Now, anybody with kind of a bit of sense will kind of think, oh God, if they open up again in December, people go crazy and we'll be back down to lockdown in January. But you know what? I'd take that.
Yeah.
I'd just say, can we just give it a break and just give COVID a break for December? I know that's obviously, we still need to protect the vulnerable, and we still need to, and hopefully, you know, they are doing that, and that you know, there's signs now that they are doing a lot better than they did in the first lockdown. Like, cases are higher, deaths are way lower.
Yeah.
You know, so hats off to the people, you know, at the front line doing that. But, you know, in terms of the restrictions being so harsh, if we ease them off for December, at least so that we can have the Christmas spirit, and, you know, and then, I mean, January for a lot of people is a bit of a lockdown anyway, because, you know, you have no money usually, and you're just, all you're doing is working and avoiding shops. So, you know, and trying to lose weight. So it's a similar kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think, but just on Colum's question about Christmas weddings, I think that'd be just my thought, that maybe the first week in December, they might bring the numbers back up to 50. And if they do, I think any of the weddings that are planning to go ahead around Christmas would be really nice weddings at 50 guests. And then, you know, are you actually out this New Year's Eve? Have you still got that one? Do you know? Or
no, it's free.
Free, yeah. Be a lot of
I don't. Yeah, I'm picky enough about what I do on New Year's Eve. I only stay. That week in general, I only take local weddings. I don't like to travel. I don't. I want to be home early, and I'm out on the 28th and 29th, and that suits me. That's fine. I was off last New Year's Eve just by chance as well. So I think, or was I? Last year or the year before, like one of them. And yeah, I try not to, because one year I did like 4 or 5 in a row, and it was really hard, you know.
That's hard on video. Now on band wise, we do, you know, we could do 7 or 8, you know, the week after Christmas, and it's fine. But like on the 9th day, you're done. But with the video on the after 4 or 5 weddings, you still have whatever, like a month's worth of editing to do, like, you know.
Which is usually fine, because you're usually quiet in January and February. But the problem with video is that, you know yourself, if you've got a wedding, if I have a wedding tomorrow, then I'm charging now. I'm thinking about, like, you nearly spend your entire day preparing. Oh, I'm gone.
You're gone there, Jason. Did your battery run out?
No, my camera battery. Hang on a second.
Oh, there you go. Videographers.
Videographer points. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect, yeah. So Colin had a follow-up there. Colin was just saying as a follow-up, he said they still have a few in the book. Not sure if they'll go ahead. Very unsure as to what to do with the van, because it's parked up the last 6 months.
I can tell you what to do with the van, Colin.
Sell it?
Start working for Fastway. They're crying out for drivers.
Yeah. That wouldn't be... It wouldn't be the nicest job, I think, would it?
Well, actually, a friend of mine works for them, and they are really looking for, like, so kind of on a semi-serious note, if you have a van and you're already kind of self-employed, and, you know, you're looking for a bit of seasonal work, it's not bad. It's not a bad option to look into. I need to find a battery. Hold on.
I'll keep the show going, Jason. It's fine.
Keep the show going. I'll keep talking. Yeah.
Hang on. Now we have Leo Fitzpatrick is just commenting here. He's saying to Colin he can't see it. Most brides are now looking at April onwards, on advice of hotels. That's it too. You see, it depends on the venues. The venues, a lot of them take different approaches. You know, so some venues might be a bit more accommodating than others. So that's a big factor too on whether couples move or stay with December.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate, really, because we had a nice spell during the summer.
I should have had a picture of you ready there, Jason, to throw in.
I know. Hang on, I'm nearly there.
A placeholder.
I've got some power coming here. I didn't think of this.
Yeah, I have mine left on the desk as a reminder before I start each stream, just to change them out.
Yeah.
But of course you can, and I was looking it up. I want to get one. I don't know if you have one. One of them dummy batteries.
Yeah. Well, the thing about this one is I forgot to plug it in because it can be charged via USB as well. So.
Oh right, yeah.
So I should have just had it plugged into power, which I didn't. Pop this in here. Pop that in there. And here I am.
There we
go. Okay. It's a bit fuzzy, but it'll come back in a second.
Yeah. What you can do, I suppose, I can switch to my webcam as well if that happens to me, but the quality drops significantly. So yeah, I'd say, lads, look, the people in the comments there, it depends. Yeah, like Leo said, it depends too on the venue. If the venues are pushing weddings, some venues don't seem to really want to do the weddings at the minute, so they're probably advising them to move. And then there's other venues actively looking for weddings of smaller numbers. So it all depends. Each wedding is different at the end of the day.
I think if it was me, if I was planning a smaller wedding now, and I think one of the secrets to a smaller wedding is an appropriate venue, or an appropriate kind of, some venues lend themselves better to smaller numbers, and it doesn't have to be like the size of the venue. Some of them can really partition a room and make it work. So
yeah,
if it might, I know some of my couples have had to change venue, and there's some lovely smaller venues out there as well that might suit a smaller wedding. So
yeah, and if you are going, the regular hotels, a lot of them can partition the room and bring it down, because I think especially from a band's point of view, for like your just for the dancing and the atmosphere, you want people as close as you can. I know that goes against everything we're supposed to be doing now, but it is just something to think of. If you're going to put 25 or 50 people in a massive room, it'll be a bit harder to get an atmosphere going,
Yeah.
But that look, the thing about 25 or 50 people too is you have a lot more options. Like that, there's a lot more venues that you are a possibility then when you're down that side.
Yeah, because there's rooms that they wouldn't that they can use for the reception. Like Mulranny, one of the weddings I saw there, they used when you first go in, the double doors to Mulranny, the room at the back is a smaller room, and they had the reception in there, and it was perfect.
Yeah,
because they had 4 tables and everyone was quite close together. It worked really well, rather than having it in their main function room, which is quite large.
Yeah.
So.
Richard McCarthy is in with a comment there. Hey lads, current climate, what's your thoughts on sharing your calendar to brides who want to change dates? Well, that just go back to something we said earlier. I think just if the couples to speed up the planning, if they just narrow it down first, I think they need to probably narrow it down to at least 2 or 3 months, and then say whether they're looking for a Friday or Saturday, or what do you think, Jason?
Yeah. Well, actually, I did that at the beginning, and it just got too difficult to keep track of. But at the very beginning of the pandemic, I sent the couples that were in the next month or two, who I knew had to reschedule. I sent them my calendar and said, look, this is the dates I've booked already. These are the dates I'm available, and it worked well initially, but it got very hard to maintain that because there was so much chopping and changing. And
well, they might come back to you then. They might just think, oh, Jason's available for the 8th of August. And they might go off for a week. changing their date, and then come back, and by that stage, you could be gone.
Well, funnily enough, about the 8th of August, I had that was one of those dates where I had two couples who wanted to move to the 8th of August, and one had moved first, and I had to say to the second couple, look, I won't be able to shoot your wedding, but I can get somebody else to shoot. Now, since then, both of those couples have moved again. So that's where we're at now, is that we're on, the third round of rescheduling in some cases, or maybe even more for some people. Cool.
Now we should be live again on Facebook. Sorry, guys. My machine crashed.
It wasn't my fault this time.
It wasn't yet. After Jason replaced his battery, my machine crashed.
You can tell we're out of practice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, of all the people that should be getting this right,
I know.
But yeah. So look, Jason. Thanks for coming on. I think, all kind of hopeful stuff. Like we're saying, just like you're the right approach. You're using the downtime to kind of get, go into new avenues and stuff like that and get ready. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Where can people find out more about Wild Castle Studios and Jason Nolan Wedding Films and get in touch with you and stuff?
Yeah, well, the for the weddings, it's Jason Nolan Wedding Films. For corporate work, it's Wild Castle Studios. For streaming, I can't even remember these now. For streaming, it's Castle Streaming. That's the one. There may be another one in the pipeline too, but we'll see. Wild Castle Designs might be coming up soon as well.
Castle Photography's not coming back anytime soon.
No, I'm afraid any photographer queries are being referred to the amazing photographers who don't have an ego, by the way, and they're it's yes. But for video related stuff, that's my thing.
That's great. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and thanks for all the comments, and thanks Jason for coming on. And
thank you, Brian.
Hopefully we'll see you soon at a wedding.
Absolutely.
You'll be giving out about a first dance. When are we starting? Those were the days. Those were the days.
Exactly.
All right, Jason. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Brian.
Cheers. Bye.